G'day everyone, welcome back to another edition of Guvs Hero Review videos. Today we are going to be continuing in our Hunters series, taking a look at the legendary 5-star red hero Magma, the Volcanic Combat Monster. So Magma is available for summons, as we saw from the Monster Island portal, which rolls around once every 8 weeks. The portal itself hasn't got the greatest odds in the world. It comes in at with just 1.2% chance for an event legendary hero. There are no featured heroes, which means that, the odds do drop off substantially when you're going for a specific Monster Island hero. So to put all of that in perspective, if you were to do 100 summons in this portal, you would have a 70% probability of getting any of the 8 legendary heroes in the portal. If you were to try to be drilling down for a specific hero in those 100 summons, you would have only a 13.9% probability of getting that specific hero. So not the greatest odds when you're spending, 30,000 gold on a portal and you've only got a 13 or 14% probability of getting the hero you're chasing after. Magma himself, he was added to the game semi-recently. He came in, why am I on Barbie? Came along in March 2023, about a year after the event's original release and the OG heroes on the portal. 2 other heroes were added in that March release, which were Torrent and Marrow. The rest of them were all added in the original release of Monster Island in February 2022, so roughly 2 years ago at the moment. In terms of his artwork, let's just jump across to my roster and we can take a look. So Magma is notably the only monster hero in the Hunter family. All the other ones are humanoids that are hunting the monsters, whereas Magma seems to be one of the monsters. Either he is someone they're hunting or he is a convert and he's hunting his own kind. I don't know, there's absolutely no lore in this game, so make of it whatever you want. Yeah, so he's got, augmentation with a harpoon gun on his arm. He's got a lot of those orangey, reddy colors to tie back to being a volcano monster. But yeah, that's his artwork. Feel free to pause it if you so choose. Magma is, as we said, a member of the monsters or the Hunter family, which means that he does have a passive family bonus, which grants him plus 10, 15, 20, and 25% healing when there are 2, 3, 4, or 5 unique hunters in a battle. So 2 things to emphasize here. One is the word unique. They have to be 2 different heroes. You can't bring along 2 copies of Magma to gain the benefit. It's got to be 2 different heroes, like combining Magma with Accent or Magma with Marrow, for example. The other thing that's worth emphasizing is that this is, generally speaking for me, the worst of the family bonuses in the game. I'm not a huge fan of healing bonuses generally. More so when you look at the rest of the Hunter family, there is no real healer in amongst all of them. The best that comes close is Barbie, who's a heal for damage option, but really, there's no one that actually heals allies other than Barbie in the family. So not only is it a poor effect, but it's also limited because it doesn't really work with the family bonus. If the family bonus was something to do with Fiend, so doing an additional 10, 15, 20, 25% Fiend HP absorption, sure, maybe it might be useful, but I just don't like it on these heroes. Hunter family members also do gain a family bonus when they're used in the Monster Island event. Specifically, they will gain a 20% chance to do a 1-turn attack and a 1-turn silence whenever they cast their special skill. So they also gain a passive attack and defense bonus, giving them plus 4, 8, 12, 16, or 20% attack and defense when there is 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 unique Hunter members in a battle. Again, it is worth noting that these are only applying when they're used in the Monster Island event. It doesn't apply any other time in the game, not in wars, not in war machines, it doesn't matter. It is only in the Monster Island event. Magma's stats, he comes in with 770 attack, 668 defense, and 1557 HP. So there is a bit of a skewing going from his defense stat towards the attack stat there. It is moderate, it's not huge, but yeah, it is there. His charge speed is 39 speed, which is slow. It does require 12 tiles to charge or 6 ghosted tiles. A single speed break requires only +4, which you can do using any of the speed guns in red. You've got the +7 from the 4-star Tigger Happy, or there's 2 5-star options, the Firewing Trig and the Chekhov SVK, both of which give +9. A double break requires +11, which you can't do even when you combine the 2% charge generation node from his emblem tree with the +9 speed gun. You fall just short in terms of the requirement. So as a result, the class node is not of particular relevance on Magma. In the topic of his class, Magma is a warfighter hero, which means he has the chance to revive with 1 HP whenever he takes what would normally be fatal damage. The warfighter talent, it is probably one of the more game-changing effects. It does have a bit of a sordid history as well, both in being confirmed as being bugged by SGG and also a bit of a conspiracy theory ongoing that it is bugged even to this day. So it is a talent that I do advise putting +1 on most heroes just to activate that chance for revival in battle. By way of a specific emblem path, I'll just bring up Ayumi because the path looks almost exactly like what I've done on her. So the path I'd recommend for Magma is a defense HP one to effectively increase his survival for that taunt ability he has in his skill. So what this looks like, as we can see, is we've gone for defense nodes. Whenever there's a choice between defense on both sides, we've picked the side that's got defense and HP. I haven't worried too much about attack nodes, or I wouldn't on Magma. That's mostly because his attack stat is already pretty good as it is, and as you can see, I have stopped at +18 on Magma. Yes, I went further on Ayumi, but for Magma, I would say just to stop at that +18 node, because as we discussed, the speed emblem is not really of any use. So that's the talent tree. Heading back to the portal, and we can take a look at his special skills. So his special skill is titled Burning Lava Rage, and at level 10 skill and 39 charge speed, it will do a lot of things, so brace yourself. So first off, it will deal 350% damage to the target and nearby enemies. It will then apply an Ember Fiend to the target and nearby enemies, which has 20% attack and absorbs healing to a total of 25% of the owner's max health. It also applies a -20% defense debuff, which is active for as long as the Fiend is active. It also gives a there is also a +46 attack buff for the caster and nearby allies for 3 turns, which increases by a further 17% per each hit that is taken to a maximum of 131%. And on top of all of that, it also provides taunt to the caster for 3 turns. So a lot going on in there. We'll break it all down bit by bit, starting with the damage side of things. So damage is hard to consistently calculate. It is easy to calculate, but because there's a lot of variability with what feeds into it, both random factors and also various defense stats, I find it easier to compare heroes based on their attack power. So attack power is analogous to their damage output, so more attack power equals more damage, and attack power is just their attack stat. In the case of Magma, it's 770, multiplied by the percentage in their special skill. So we can see that Magma here comes out with an attack power of 2,695, which is pretty decent. You know, when we normalize it against his charge speed, it comes out at 225, which is top of the list. Only just, it's only just ahead of Bunraku in that number 2 slot. But yeah, Magma is a very hefty damage dealer in spite of him being comparably slow to all of these other DOA 3 red hitters. He is a step or two behind the best DOA hitters in most of the other elements, but of the red ones, he is definitely the best option. So you can see there, Magma's at 225, Bunraku, as I said, 222. Accent, who's another of the monster heroes, comes in at 167. Then you've got a bit lower down, Syntax at 147, June 139, and all the way down the bottom there is Horato at 98 attack power per tile per enemy. If we were to keep this list and factor in a scenario where Magma casts his turn again within casts his ability again within 3 turns, so a situation where he's still under his attack buff, his attack power per tile can ratchet up a long way. So at that maximum 131% attack buff, his damage output or his attack power per tile is as high as 518. All right. The base buff of just 46, it's not quite as good, so 46%, but it still does raise his attack power per tile up to 328. So we will deal with that attack bonus a little bit more later on, but for now we do need to move on from the direct damage because there is a lot of other stuff to look at. So next item in his skill is the Ember Fiend. So Fiends are a little bit interesting in that they both have health points, but they also don't have health points. So Magma's Fiends, they will absorb healing equivalent to 25% of the owner's maximum health, and that's the number that shows up on a Fiend in the detailed information in battle. So that's what's listed as their hit points. There are sort of 3 ways to get rid of Fiends in a battle. So the first one is, as it said, if you heal enough and it absorbs enough of the healing, it will disappear. That's obviously the worst way because it does chew up a lot of your healing that you can do in battle. So the next 2 options are a little bit better. So the first alternative is to use a Fiend Destroyer, such as Marrow. She is the only Fiend Destroyer in the game, so hopefully there might be some more, but at the moment it's just Marrow. The other way you can do it is to displace them with minions. So Fiends will sit in one of the 3 minion slots on a hero's card. So if you put enough minions out, it pushes the Fiend off to the side and off the hero's card. So it is possible to get rid of Fiends just by summoning more minions, which is pretty cool. In terms of the other effects for the Fiend, so the Ember Fiend has 20% attack. It's not great. It's not going to deal a huge amount of damage. It comes out roughly at like 20-ish damage or less than 20 damage per turn, but it does tick up and add up over time because there are 3 of them. They're doing it on each turn's basis. The Fiend will also apply a minus 20% defense debuff to the hit enemies, which lasts as long as the Fiend is aligned for. So if you are able to control the enemy healers or there are no healers, this defense debuff will last for the entire fight, which is pretty awesome. The debuff is worth noting that it only applies when the Fiend is first summoned, which means that if the hero resists or they have a debuff blocker or an ailment shield in play at the start of the cast, it's not going to be there at any other point because it has to go on with the initial application. The damage improvement, just to put it into perspective, so minus 20% defense debuff increases your overall damage output by roughly 35% due to how the damage calculation processes the information. So we've still got 2 things to go, so bear with me a little bit. There is a lot going on in Magma's skill. The next thing is the attack buff, which we sort of touched on already. I'm not going to go into it too much detail, but there's 2 things to note. Number 1 is it is obviously percentage based, which means that it will scale with future emblems, weapons, power creep, and all of that, which is really awesome. The second thing to note is that it is what I call the Berserk style buff, or a scaling buff, which simply means that it gets better with each additional hit that gets taken. So the Berserk aspect caps out after only 5 hits. That's when it hits that maximum percentage of 131%. I did touch, as I said, on the impact that this buff has on its attack power per tile, but as a final demonstration, the actual damage improvement comes out at being roughly 60% additional damage at that base 46%, and when you get up to that 131% maximum attack buff, it's roughly 210% additional damage. So yeah, pretty sweet. The final part of his skill, thankfully we are getting there, is the self-application of Taunt. So I love Taunt, right? I think it is one of the most useful effects behind charge control that you can have in an attacking situation. I am a little bit confused about it being on Magma here. It doesn't seem to really synergize with the rest of his skill or any of his stat spreads or anything like that. So don't get me wrong, I love the taunt effect. I think it's extremely useful, especially in attacking situations where you can control AoE enemy hitters or skills. But generally speaking, for a taunt hero to be really effective as a taunt hero, there needs to be some kind of internal synergy within their skill to aid the taunt. So a couple examples, you've got Panzer, right? She generates armor for herself, which goes towards surviving the damage that she inflicts on herself with the taunt. Variant Face Off has counterattack to offset his taunt, so he attracts damage onto himself but then retaliates with counterattack. So the lack of supporting effect of the taunt on Magma is further highlighted when, as I said, we switch back and look at those base stats. So he has a really low defense stat, which means that he's actually going to take more damage than if his attack and defense stats were switched around the other way. So yeah, taunt, big tick, really big tick, highly effective in it as a skill. But on Magma, I don't know. I don't know if it's the right play with the rest of his skill. I honestly don't think it was even necessary. There's so much going on with this special skill that taunt just could have been left off it. It just kind of pushes him over onto the next level, particularly in attacking situations. So yeah, overall, I do see Magma as being an extremely effective attack hero. His damage output is great. It becomes even more so when you are able to recast while that attack buff is still active. The Fiend is very effective with the defense debuff that it gives off. It does make him an option to bring onto war machines, but also it does improve his damage output in raids generally, or wars generally. The taunt on the end of his skill, it's another really awesome effect. I don't know, as I said, if it's the right play for Magma given his stat distribution, but I don't really care because I still love taunt. I think it's still a very useful effect, but yeah, it is still a little bit weird on his skill. But yeah, so that's Magma's summary. So in terms of his grading, I'm going to give him an A grade for his attack, his war and raid attack situations. There's a lot going on in his skill. All of it is good stuff in an attacking situation, so very useful to have on an attacking team. The only downside to him is his speed and the fact that you can't get that double charge break on him. For war machines, I'm going to give him an A- grade for attacks for war machines. Because of that defense debuff that he's got in his skill, somewhere in there. Eventing, I'm going to give him a B+. Good damage, good defense debuff, fairly good option, but slow, which is the downside there. For raiding and war defense teams, I'm going to give him a B grade. Best spot is probably as the flank, which is the case with pretty well all taunt heroes, although his is a little bit less cut and dry as being necessary or useful on his skill, but yeah, flank is probably his best spot on a defense team. For the tournament settings, I'm going to give him an A grade for Bloody Battle attacks and a B+ for his Bloody Battle defense. There is no healing, so the defense debuff from the Fiend will stick around forever, which is awesome. Buff boosters, I'm going to give him an A- in attack and a B grade on defense. And then finally, for charged attacks, I'm going to give him an A grade on attack and a B+ on defense, because he does pick up a substantial speed improvement from 39 up to 65. So overall for those grades, it comes out as being an A- for his attack grade and a B for his defense grade. And that really concludes all the content that I have for this review video of Magma. As always, these are just my personal thoughts and opinions on these heroes. I do love hearing your thoughts and feedback on them, so please do jump down to the comment section of the video, leave me a note. I try to read and respond to as many of you as I can. If you did enjoy the video and found it to be useful, feel free to like it, subscribe to the channel and all of that, but most importantly, share the video around, because if it's useful to you, chances are it's also going to be useful to the other people that you play with as well. Thank you once again for tuning in and joining me for this review. I do hope that I will see you again soon, but until then, good luck, stay safe, and happy gaming. Cheers, bye!